Welcome back to another episode of HealthCap Weekly Wrap, the podcast where we bring you the biggest stories in senior living every week.
Yeah, and today's lineup is packed. Staffing mandates, nursing home transparency, CMS guidance updates. Plus, we've got a couple of really interesting health and wellness stories, including Qi Gong for chronic pain and the latest on geriatric care.
And let's not forget the push to combat loneliness in older adults. That one's been making headlines again.
Right? It's a lot to cover, so let's jump in.
Okay, first up, the fight over nursing home staffing mandates.
Yeah, this one is heating up again. McKnight's long-term care news reported that Senator Deb Fischer has reintroduced a bill to block CMS's proposed staffing requirements, and a lot of providers are on edge.
I mean, we've talked about this before. Staffing shortages are a huge issue, and adding federal mandates, not exactly an easy fix.
Right. Fisher and her supporters argue that this rule would just make things worse, especially in rural communities where hiring qualified staff is already tough.
And on the other side, CMS is saying, hey, we need these requirements to ensure quality care. But if there aren't enough people to hire, what happens then?
That's the big question. A lot of providers are worried that they'll be forced to cut services or reduce admissions just to comply with the rules.
And let's be real, the workforce crisis in long-term care isn't going to be solved overnight. Even if these mandates are well-intended, they don't address the root issue. There just aren't enough workers.
Exactly. So now we're watching to see if this bill gains traction in Congress. If it does, it could completely change the direction of the CMS staffing mandate.
Either way, senior living communities need to stay prepared. Whether the mandate sticks or not, staffing challenges aren't going away anytime soon. Speaking of legislative efforts, there's also a push for more transparency in nursing homes.
What's Up New P reported that Senator Don Ewer and other legislators are calling for clearer reporting on staffing, operations, and care quality.
Which honestly could be a good thing for residents and their families. The more info they have, the better decisions they can make.
Exactly. Right now, a lot of families struggle to understand what's really happening inside a nursing home. They might see the 5-star rating, but that doesn't always give them the full picture.
Yeah, and even for people working in the industry, it can be frustrating. Transparency could help communities showcase the great work they're doing instead of just being judged on a couple of data points.
For sure. But some providers are worried about the extra administrative burden. More reporting requirements mean more time spent on paperwork instead of resident care.
And, it's always about striking that balance, ensuring accountability without creating so much red tape that it becomes impossible to function.
Right. We'll have to see how this plays out, but it's definitely something the industry should be paying attention to. Okay, switching gears a little. Let's talk about loneliness in older adults.
Yeah, McKnight's Senior Living reported that Senators Rick Scott and Tina Smith have reintroduced the Senior Act, which is all about tackling social isolation.
And they're pushing for programs that help older adults stay connected, right?
Yep, the bill would actually integrate loneliness into the definition of disease prevention under the Older Americans Act, which is a pretty big deal.
That makes sense. We know loneliness isn't just an emotional issue. It impacts physical health, too.
Exactly. Studies have linked loneliness to everything from cognitive decline to heart disease. So if this bill helps get more resources in place, that's a win.
A lot of senior living communities are already making social engagement a priority, but this could open the door for even more funding and support.
Yeah, and honestly, anything that helps residents feel more connected is a step in the right direction. All right, let's talk about something a little different. Qi Gong for chronic pain.
Yeah, Science Direct recently published a study looking at how an 8-week Qi Gong program affected veterans with chronic low back pain.
And did it work?
Actually, yeah, the results showed reduced pain intensity, better physical function, and even improved overall well-being.
That's wild. I mean, Qi Gong is low impact, so it makes sense that it would be a good option for older adults, too.
Right? It could be something senior living communities explore as part of wellness programming.
We're always talking about non-pharmacological approaches to pain management, and this seems like a great option.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see if more communities start incorporating Qi Gong or similar practices into their wellness programs.
All right, let's talk geriatric care. Medscape recently outlined 5 key areas that general practitioners should focus on for older adults.
Yeah, and these aren't just medical issues. They include things like mobility, cognitive health, and social well-being.
Which ties back to everything we've been talking about: loneliness, transparency, staffing. It's all connected.
Exactly. The more we focus on comprehensive care, the better outcomes we'll see in senior living communities.
It's also a reminder that aging isn't just about treating illness, it's about maintaining quality of life.
Yeah, and as the senior population grows, making these priorities mainstream will be crucial.
The big takeaway: providers need to work together to address these challenges holistically, not just in isolation. Okay, last but not least, CMS has updated its guidance on federal monitoring surveys.
Right, this comes straight from a newly released CMS memo. It outlines how federal monitoring surveys will be conducted in 2025, including updates on long-term care inspections and compliance reviews.
So basically, if you're in leadership at a senior living community, you'll want to review this memo.
For sure. It's all about staying ahead of potential issues before CMS comes knocking.
Some of these changes could impact how communities prepare for inspections, so it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
It's also a reminder that regulatory oversight isn't slowing down anytime soon. Communities need to be proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. The best way to avoid problems is to make sure you're already meeting or exceeding these expectations before a surveyor even walks through the door.
All right, that's a wrap for this week.
Yeah, we covered a lot: staffing mandates, transparency, loneliness, pain management, and more.
And as always, if you want more details, check out the weekly roundup on Angie's blog at healthcapusa.com/Angie's-blog. We've got summaries and links to all the articles we just covered, so you can read more about each story and stay up to date on what's happening in senior living.
Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.